In the lesson on the cost of missing foundations, you and Max have an interesting section where you talk about how the English language is filled with self-contradictions. Um, and I just wanted to try and put this in an interesting way. Why do you write about the fact that the English language is filled with self-contradictions in a course on business practices and software engineering?
Well, if I'll tell you a little story. So when I originally moved to the United States in '98, um, came from South Africa, and one of the things that I would do, it took me a little while to get over this. I'd actually not made this fake, but I would drive on the freeway, and I'd be coming up to a sign. I was living up in the Seattle area at the time. I would come up to a sign that says Everett next right. I went, great. So I would go past this exit and go to the next exit, right? Or the next exit, right? And and then I would be completely lost. so so that got me to a point where it's like, okay, so what do you mean when you say the next exit? Do you mean it's this exit that I'm about to come up on, or is it the one after that? If I were to say to you on Friday, you know, next Friday, today is what? Today is Wednesday. So if I just say to you next Friday, let's do this. What is your take on, is that in 2 days from now? Is that in 9 days from now? And I think most people would think that when I say, and when I ask these in your teams and in my training courses, people would typically say next Friday. So in 9 days from now, because we're right here. But why does that not translate to something like a sign on a freeway, right? When I'm saying next exit, well, it's this exit. It's this exit that I'm in. Is this the one, or is it the next exit, right? And so, especially as I started teaching things like behavior-driven development, this became even more important to understand that we humans have language, but language depends on context. And it depends on the context of the overall story of the requirement, if you will. But it also depends on our own context that we bring to it. There's our own understanding. There's our own language. It's our culture, our version of the language, if you will, dialect or even regional version of that. So even though I came from South Africa speaking English, for 20 something years, even though I'm an English second languager, I pretty much grew up with English from early days on. Um, and coming here to America, and I'm reading the same English words, and we have different interpretations of that. And so when it started coming down to writing requirements and actually telling teams that, I started realizing that teams constantly would misunderstand what was being told. And that misunderstanding is something that leads to failure. Because when I say do this and they misunderstand that and they do something completely different, now they've developed something that they thought they needed to, but it was not what I intended or what the stakeholder, maybe I misunderstood the stakeholder. So writing about that in Ready is because we need to gain shared understanding, right? Because if you and I say next exit, we need to know, is it this exit that I'm about to come up onto, or is it the one after this exit? Do we have the same understanding? So part of this is making sure that in our sharing of information, whether it's written or verbal, specifications, etc., everybody who's involved in the development of some piece of functionality need to have the same understanding. They need to have a shared understanding that's the same amongst everybody, so that we do not deliver something that was not asked for. And we see this happen between customers and product. We see this happen between stakeholders and product. We see this happen between product and engineering. We see this happen in engineering. We literally see a developer having a different interpretation of a specification requirement from a tester. We see different developers having different interpretations of the exact same requirement. And it's not until they then have to go back and get the clarification that they now realize, oh, we were building the wrong thing completely, or we were about to build the wrong thing, or testing was going to test something completely different from what we were building. And now we end up having to do this rework. So trying to address this potential problem of misunderstanding, well, this reality of misunderstanding is why we wrote about that in there. I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, thanks very much for that great explanation. I mean, I could talk about this subject myself for a very long time. I think that there's a very curious thing that, like, in many like, let's say in sort of North American culture, there's this objection to assessing language in certain kinds of contexts. It's seen as impractical, right? So, like, we sort of use pejorative terms like, "That's just semantic." It's like,
Yeah.
just semantic? It's just the meaning of what we're saying? How is that something that to be dismissed? But there really is something about, like, it's kind of like seen as unserious to pause a conversation and reflect on what your words actually mean. It's like, "Let's get on with this. Why are we wasting time? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, sure. You meant this and I meant that, but whatever, it doesn't matter." And there's this weird thing where, like, just in normal human society, we just kind of try and gloss over these differences in what we actually mean by what we're saying, when nothing could actually be more important when we're trying to do things together, than make sure we're basically speaking in shared terms. The idea that, for example, studying English is impractical, it kind of embodies this deep, deep mistake that people make that leads to all kinds of problems that they don't recognize they could avoid.
And I think
They
we
just
see this in a lot of various different fields. We see this in medicine, we see this in healthcare, we see this in engineering, like physical engineering, and we see this in government, we see this in social issues, we see it just everywhere we look. We see these types of misunderstandings and these disconnects simply because it seems like our lives have become rushed. It's about just go, 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 do. And the depth of stopping and reflecting and saying, are we actually doing the right thing? Do we really understand each other here? Or are we just completely misunderstanding each other and fighting with each other because we misunderstand? Well, we're not even reflecting to see, are we actually even are we even saying the same thing? Are we even talking about the same thing? So I think this is somebody recently told me that they think that Ready and RMF actually has applications much broader than just for software development. And I've started picking up on that as well, because I think that this what we're trying to bring is this kind of this stop and actually make sure that we really are seeing eye to eye about this and we really understand this and actually dig into this. And if it's okay, if we have differences of opinion and we have different understandings and interpretations of that, I want to know about now before we go and spend weeks or months developing something only to find out later that it was the wrong thing. I mean, I I abhor that companies are wasting massive amounts of money when they don't need to, simply because we're not taking the time to actually understand, are we doing the right thing? And I hate that people's lives, time is being wasted. Time is so precious. So, I really feel that Ready embodies, things that are truly of value for me in working with people, because I see people struggle. I see businesses struggle. I see money wasted. I see the end customers way, struggling. I mean, I look at my own use of software and applications and many other different things, not just software, many other tools, and I see failures in actually meeting my expectations. I see bad software out there and people struggling, and people often come to me and say, "How am I supposed to do this? I don't understand. This makes no sense. Why did I do it this way?" I'm like, I know why. I know why that I have a pretty good understanding of why that feature defect was built in. So, all right. I could wax philosophical about this for a long time.
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely, me too.